Jay, thanks for accepting to join us on this podcast. For me, always a pleasure to talk to an entrepreneur, especially somebody who's run an organization for more than a decade. I can relate because I did it for 17 years. You're like a test match player. You're not that 2020 guy. So I really am looking forward to an interesting conversation. Introduce yourself in a quick way.
If I have to just put myself in three words, I would say I am human, right? So we can put the entrepreneur and the other pieces aside, right? It's important that any entrepreneur is first human before being an entrepreneur. And to give you a broad understanding, it's been 11 years in the industry, and we work with some of the largest corporates. We work with a lot of Tata Group companies, Asian Paints, Canada Rubico, Access, and we help engage people in ways that are unimaginable. We've been doing this for 11 years and have a good range of clients with us. So that's what we do as an organization. And I think as an entrepreneur, I focus always first on being human and then on being an entrepreneur. Prolite is something, as an organization, I'm very proud to say that it started with 432 rupees. That's the precise investment that has gone into starting Prolite. And here we are a team of 25 people now, spread across India, and we work with some of the largest corporates. So it's been a good journey.
So, why entrepreneurship?
To give you a very honest answer, like any other lower middle class person who wants to make it big, wants to cross that line of the middle class and wants to take their family to the notch above, I would say entrepreneurship is something that is driving me to make an impact, because I could see a lot of organizations running in a different way, and I wanted to run in a different way. And I said, if I wanted to run in a different way, it has to be an organization that I built from scratch in terms of culture, in terms of the way we are with people. And that's what propelled me towards entrepreneurship. By qualification, I am somebody who writes Java programs, right? So I completed my degree in computers, and then I have moved into entrepreneurship because I didn't want to sit behind a desk and continue writing programs. I wanted to be out there trying to see where I can make a difference. And happy to say we are in that space now.
Why event management?
To answer your question, why event management? I mean, it's very exciting. Um, I'll tell you one specific moment about events which is possibly going to resonate with most guys that do events. I mean, you have sleepless nights, you are working day in and day out. And when you do a successful event, and that successful event comes to an end, it is right at about 12:30, 1 a.m. that the event has come to an end. And that part, that 10 minutes where everything slows down, there's a void in your mind. It's a state of zen, and any person who's passionate about events would tell you that that state of zen is what we typically live for.
How did you see the growth happen? What stages were you able to observe as an entrepreneur?
To sum it up in three stages, the first stage of my business is that we are just crazily looking for any assignment that comes on board, because you start with 432 rupees, you need cash. You need cash to hire people, to employ, and to make a team, right? Because the team also wants to grow. That the first stage is the first 2 to 3 years. This is where we went from a first year turnover of 10 lakhs to a turnover of about 2.5 crores. It was about taking what comes along your way, but at the same time taking things which is a direction that we wanted to go in, right? So we were very clear we didn't want to do weddings or birthday parties as an event agency. We only wanted to focus on corporate HR. So the first 2 to 3 years, we took up a lot of learning festivals, HR engagement pieces, mobility fairs, all those pieces. Something that really inspired us in the first phase of Prolite was a learning festival that we conceptualized for BNP Paribas. This is the first time that a learning festival was conceptualized for BNP Paribas, and we did this for about 3,000 employees. And that festival kind of showed us that the direction we had taken was right, which is in targeting HR. And we could actually see gaps in that industry, and we said, okay, now we need to double down on all the gaps that we could see while we curated the learning festival and delivered it. And just to add, that learning festival won something they call as the CIB Innovation Awards in Paris. This was amongst more than 200 global entries. So this is something that changed our thought process and made it more robust. And once the thought process was robust, we had to build more avenues to service to the HR. So what started as an event agency that is only focusing on events, then we eventually started building up verticals where we said, okay, can we build strategic communication for HR? Yes, we could. Could we build videos for HR? Yes, we could. Could we help them strategize their entire annual engagement? Yes, we could. So then we started working in that direction. So after the first phase, we moved to a turnover of about 2.5 crores. This was by 2019, we were there. Then 2020 is when COVID hit. Now, this is an interesting phase in the journey because we are going all guns blazing. We are in an uphill, 10 lakhs, 1 crore, 2 crores, 2.5 crores. And then you are suddenly hit by something that you have no control of. And this is where an important lesson from my grandfather actually helped in taking it to the second phase. My grandfather always used to tell me that, Jay, you need to have a 6-month salary of every employee in your bank account at every stage of your business. So when COVID hit, we did not plan the 6-month salary for COVID. It was a basic habit that was inculcated by my grandfather. And when COVID came in, people were firing employees left, right, and center. I didn't have a very big team. Like I said, we were maintaining a lean team, so we were 7 of us. And the first thing I told my team is go home, sleep, stay indoors. Nobody's salary is getting cut. Nobody is getting a resignation. Let us see how we can turn this around in our favor. And we have 6 months for this, right? So the first 30 days of that COVID phase, we just relaxed without worrying about having to pay people, without worrying about cash flow, because we had a 6-month forward cash balance. After the first month, we connected virtually, and at that point in time, Zoom had just started flocking. Zoom was not, I mean, it was there, but it had started becoming popular, and they were giving these 1 hour free meetings. So we started connecting virtually because we were all in a lockdown. And we said, okay, salaries are not getting cut, but 6 months, how can we turn this around? So we started ideating on what can be done now. Can we do online pieces? Because we have substantial insight on HR. We know what the HR wants to do. It is just that how can we transform this entire piece online? So for 3 months, we kept on dwindling with ideas. And after 3 months came the phase two, which is where we realized that we can actually have an IT vertical to build online virtual events. And we kept on pitching online virtual events, and we had nothing to show, right? Because everything we had was physical. So it was like starting from scratch all over again, just with a 4 years of experience before COVID. So we started building on that, and we had some existing clients at that point in time who were willing to listen to us, but everyone was scared of how will the online piece work. So we did a lot of free online interventions for them to gain confidence and for us to gain experience. And we recorded these online interventions to see how this is going. So this was still not giving us money. This was about 4.5 months down the line. Fifth month, we bagged our first virtual event with Godrej Agrovet. Thankfully, they trusted us. I don't know how. I really don't know how, right? But they trusted us in doing their first virtual annual awards. And that was a turning part for phase two of my business, where we started doing virtual events and virtual interventions. So almost for 1.5 year, we survived on virtual businesses. So the turnover, which was at 2.5 crore, fell down to 1 crore. But the beauty of online business was that the profitability was very high. And there was not many players who were doing this. Of course, a lot of players had picked this up, but not many who were doing this professionally and to the scale that we were doing it. right? And creativity was something which was always at the core at Prolite. So even when we went virtual, we were extremely creative. There were hardly one or two agencies in India which could even match to the level of creativity that we created with virtual events and virtual spaces. So in that 1 crore, the profitability was almost as good as the profitability that we had in 2.5 crores, right? So revenue was low, but the profitability went high. So we always say revenue is important, but that's a lesson we learned at that point in time. Revenue can be whatever. What is the percentage of profitability you're bringing to the table? So with 1 crore, our profitability was more than what we had done with 2.5 crores. And that's when revenue and net profitability kind of struck a deal. So that was a learning from that phase, and from there on we've been focused about the bottom line, giving us more revenues, because top line is something that we ought to do. Every business needs to get a top line. We need to get more clients, we need to get more sales, but how much are we really able to convert into a bottom line profit? So that was phase two. From there on, because the bottom lines were starting to grow, we started growing our team. That is where we ventured into internal communication space. This is an unexplored territory. So normally when you talk about internal communication, people say, oh, it is about making mailers. But we started transforming the entire internal communication space. We started doing strategy, we started multiple touch points. We used to do large scale culture launches, which were physical as well as virtual, right? So that's where the profitability from the net revenue started increasing. So from 1 crore, we went to 2.5 crores, 2.5 crores, we went to 5 crores. But this time, when we went to 5 crores, our profitability had increased in terms of percentage, right? And we had a lot more revenue. So by the time we were 5 crores, we were from 7 people, we had grown to about 13, 14 people. And now we knew that we had to have a scale, because we are 14 people, we are a strong team. Also, I would want to reiterate the fact that at COVID, we did not leave any of our employees, right? Just to maintain profitability. We continued paying everybody exactly what they were getting. We did not cut salaries. That instilled a lot of trust and faith in Prolite. So in Prolite, we've now got people who are 8 years old, 9 years old, 6 years old, 4 years old. Although we are 10 years old, but we've got people who are 9 years old. First year was when I was running the company all by myself. Then we've got people who are 8 years old, 7 years old. So in that sense, we grew to a 14-member team with attrition rate which was practically close to 1% or maybe zero. Then eventually, of course, people move out because there are larger career opportunities that they get at hand. But the beauty is that when they move out, they care about the organization so much that they also move out finding a replacement, because we've cared about them that much. We've ensured that we've given them a safety net. So the second lesson that I would say is that if you are able to provide a safety net to people, and which is why even Tata Group has organization as an organization is valued. Right? They provide a safety net. When the Taj incident had happened, they really took care of their employees, and it's a story that everybody remembers and cherishes. So that is a learning we had, and we took that learning. So 14 members then started growing Prolite. We were at a 5 CR turnover, and we said, okay, next year we're going to go big. We're going to hit 8 and 9, and we're going to take it to the next level. Yeah. That's when the third phase came in, where I personally had a medical emergency in the family. And due to that, I had to take myself off work for almost 1.5, 2 months. Now, this is the third realization that came in the third phase, is that I need to have my own replacements, because a lot of founders work on everything. And when the founder is off, the business becomes really stagnant, right? So we had a lot of projects which were taken up, and this was somewhere around December 2023. We had a lot of projects lined up till February, and emergency came in the last week of December. So from last week of December till almost the third week of January, I was completely out of function, right? And that raised a big question of, what if, I am busy? How does the organization run? Because the organization had to run. So because we had a 6-month planning, of course, we were not worried about the employees' salaries or the teammates, appraisals or all of that. But that started putting us into a extensive delegation mode where we realized that we need to delegate and empower people to become intrapreneurs within an entrepreneurship. Right? So we started then building capability for all Prolitians. So typically, if I look at a designer in Prolitian, can the designer only do designing? No. The designer can also do client servicing. The designer can also be present at an event and instruct what is to be done, while the core still remains designing. So we started developing dual capabilities with every individual. So my operations person can do client servicing. My client servicing person understands operations, can lead a mid-level operations project on their own. So all of us started taking dual roles and we started building people that way. And we realized that if inside an entrepreneurship is everyone is an intrapreneur, you will grow a lot more faster. So from 5 crores, we had dipped down to 3 crore that year. And that was a 2 crore dip, which is a huge dip for an organization that's growing. Even with that dip, we did not have to lose people because we had a 6-month forward planning like we had in COVID. And then we started scaling up from there. We are currently a team of 24, where there are 3 members that are outside of Mumbai. The remaining 21 members are based in Mumbai. And I'm happy to say from 3, we moved back to 6. Now, this year, we'll see where we go to. Of course, we want to go bigger. We are a larger team now. A lot is at stake. So I think that kind of sums up the 3 phases for us, and it has been really a fantastic learning journey.
Jay, I really wanted to hear this because I know it's all ups and downs. I could visualize. I can also feel what you were going through. Just to summarize what I have learned from your journey, number one, have these 6 months cash flows set up as a buffer. Second, it's not about revenue; it's about profitability. Is the second thing that I hear. Third, take care of the people; they'll take care of you. Are the 3 things I think have kept you in a steady growth path for more than a decade. So during this entire thing, I'm sure you had these lows and the high. I'm sure you had a moment where you felt, hey, why am I doing this? To it looks like everything is lost, and then you had to really put yourself together. Something helped you, something supported you, and then you just believed. That's helped me understand
So
how you dealt with it, mentally and emotionally.
at Prolite, we don't just celebrate wins; we also celebrate losses. To give you a very simple example, there was an event for a huge client. The person has been a client for the organization has been a client for almost 9 years, right? And so very important town hall where there was a kind of a mishap at our end, right? We didn't foresee a particular condition in an LED screen. And I was there, my team members were there. And when the client came in, we realized that the LED screen is not up to the mark. And the town hall is going to begin in about 4 hours. Of course, we got a new vendor, we shifted the LED, and we did all of that to start the town hall in time. But in that process, we lost the faith of the client, and we almost lost the client. And my team member walked up to me. I still remember that day. He was trying to hold back his tears because he thought it was his fault, and we were all there. So I said to him that, hey, let's celebrate this loss. And we went for a nice dinner. I said, okay, while we are celebrating victories, it's important to celebrate the loss, but not forget the learnings, right? So it's not about bypassing the loss and just putting it in thin air, but forgetting about that losses can happen. Like a Virat Kohli can get bowled out for a duck, and that's just the way it is, right? And the next time he comes in, he knows that what ball not to play or what to improvise in his shots. So we celebrate our lows. We keep it very human, like I said at the very beginning, that I believe in being human. And we ensure that during that loss, we own it as a team as much as possible, as opposed to an individual. This is very important because I see in a lot of organizations that whenever there is something that goes wrong, a mail flies off with a CC to five stakeholders that, okay, I did A, B, C, D, E, my job was done, so it was not my fault. That is a culture we don't have at Prolite. So when it's a loss, it's the team that is at a loss. And the simple philosophy we follow is that if Sachin Tendulkar makes a century and India loses a match, India still lost a match, right? And we need to work on it. Although Sachin made a century, doesn't matter. So if somebody didn't work properly, it goes on the entire team on how we can support that person and how we can bring the best out of that person to ensure these things do not happen in the long run. So that covers one part. Second part is about the mental fitness. So to be very honest, and I want to bring this up as a very candid conversation, there are days where I've cried in the washroom, and I'm sure every entrepreneur has. It's not possible that you've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, 15 years, and you've not had days where you've really went it out because you need to. Ultimately you are a human, and if you don't find that piece, but while those things happen, what uplifts you is your very strong connect with your family, right? I give a lot of importance to family and family based values. So at Prolite, I think most of my people, in fact all of my people, would be able to tell you that Prolite is a family, right? We inculcate a very clan driven culture because when I have been down, I know that my family stood by me, right? And the only thing that family tells you is we are here. They will not give you a solution, they may not give you a strategy to run your business. They will just tell you that no matter what, they are there for you, right? So as much as you can grow your bond with your family, your immediate family, your cousins, your brothers, and if you, for God forbid, for whatever reasons, if you don't have a great bond with your family, find great friends who become family. I always say that it's more important to um, build a family as opposed to have a family that you come from. You can build a family that you come from also. So it's not necessary that you need to build a new family, but even your own family you need to build. Just like you build a team, every family needs to be built. And once that bond is strong, you will more or less sail through most of your ups and downs because there are people who are just going to be by your side no matter what. Right. Third thing, I want to really highlight what keeps me sane is, when I'm really stressed, I typically get up and I run, right? Running has been something that has stayed with me for a very, very long time. I just get up and I run, and I run for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's not necessary I need to run for a marathon. While it's fantastic if I could do that, that's been I've been aspiring to do that. But even if you run for 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers at your own pace, right, it will free up a lot of your mind. And it is scientific. I mean, when you run, more blood flows into your brain. If more blood flows into your brain, you will have more ideas, more clarity of thought. So these three things, take care of your people like they are your family, right? Your own people, right? Take care of your own family and ensure that they are your biggest supports. It's okay to cry. I mean, there's there's so much of stigma around crying. I mean, it's okay to cry. I always tell my team members that it's okay to cry. Nobody's going to judge you, and you create that safe space. And third is, of course, for your own self, you need to engage into some physical activity. Like I like to play drums. I like to dance. So if I don't find the time to go running, if it's raining, music will be on blast and I'll be dancing at home, just to give myself some physical activity, and that'll be a good 15-20 minutes. So yeah, through downs, these are the three things that I would really really resonate with, and I would recommend this to any entrepreneur who's starting their journey or in the middle part of their journey, wherever they are.
I wanted to know was how do you, keep yourself coming back to the office day in, day out, so there's something that makes you go in, day out into the business and keep doing it again and again, Jay.
So I think it's all about mindset, Rishi. When you have a mindset that I want to achieve this particular goal, come rain, come sun, come shine, come difficulties, you got to show up. And it only boils down to your mindset and nothing else, right? And also you need to understand, like, I mean, it's popularly said also that life is a test match. You just need to be there. You need to be on the ground. You will get your chances to hit sixes and fours, and you kind of learn that. I think most entrepreneurs in today's day and age need patience. I think patience is very underrated, extremely underrated. So you just need to have the patience and the right mindset to keep showing up, keep hitting the ones and twos, right? Keep taking those odd singles, and then when eventually you will get a delivery where you will smash a ball out of the park. And that happens with all businesses. But yes, the mindset is to keep at it and at it and at it and at it. There is no other solution to entrepreneurship or to ups and downs. There's one saying that I live by, is that winners don't get tired before the job gets done, right? And entrepreneur mindset is a winner's mindset. And a winner's mindset does not mean you will not lose. A winner's mindset is when you lose or when you fall, you will have to you'll have the courage to get back up and start again. So that's what I call as the winner's mindset, right? So you will not stop when you are tired, you will only stop when you are done, right? So that's something that keeps me going all the time. And of course, like I said, your family and your support of your team members, that plays a part. Also, when you build a great culture, you feel like going to office, right? So I've had people who said that there's so much stress at my place, I feel better when I come to office, right? I feel that I am better off when I'm at office. There is a lot of stress happening at my place, and that's what you want to build. So if your office is a happy place, even though in downturns people will turn up, because ultimately people look for joy, right? And if you're able to cultivate that, you will want to go to office, you will want to meet your colleagues, because it's like another day where I'm going to have fun while I'm working, another day where I'm going to have joy, I'm going to have smile on my face, and I will so that's what keeps driving me.
And obviously, something influenced you to develop this mindset. You saw it somewhere. You were able to summarize that this is how I have to be. So, books, movies, people, events, anything that influenced
uh,
you to develop this mindset, right?
so the first thing that influences any lower middle class person who wants to make it big is the pain of a lot of things that you are living, right? And when that pain comes to a point where you say, okay, you know what, this is it, you start working towards making it better, right? So that's the very first, I would say, motivation, or maybe desperation, whatever you may want to call it. That's the very first. Then eventually in your path, there are two three things that will help you. One is the amount of books you read, and not just reading the books but also applying those books. It'll always keep you motivated. So typically whenever I suggest a book to anybody, I would say, don't read the whole book, read the first chapter and apply that chapter in the next week. Once you applied the chapter in the next week, you teach the chapter in the following week. When you're teaching the chapter in the following week, go by reading the second chapter, right? So that is the second thing that has really worked for me. My brother had is the one who had pushed me towards reading. I was not much of a reader. But the beauty is when you read and you apply and it succeeds, that's what motivates you to read more. Because if you read an entire book without applying it, there is no motivation. But if you read one chapter and you've applied it and you see results, and you're like, okay, this is amazing, it's working. Let me look at more things that I can read and apply. So that's the second piece that keeps me motivated. Third thing, when you speak of it, it's a very subconscious piece, and it kind of comes to me right now. I don't know if that works, doesn't work, but it's also the kind of content you watch. for some reason I had a liking towards all kinds of mission movies. So your Mission Impossibles and your Black Hawk Down and your White House Down. Then there was this something with there's a beautiful movie called 300, where there is a leader who's driven by a mission and they don't give up till the time the mission is achieved. Even the Die Hard sequence, right? Somehow I had been fascinated by mission movies. It was not by choice, it was by fascination. But I think subconsciously, when you keep putting that content into your brain, because you watch Die Hard 1, then Die Hard 2, and Die Hard 3, and then you watch Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you watch White House Down, right? It's all that wiring, you're always consistently wired to go towards a mission. So I think subconsciously, when I look back, I believe that has really, wired me to be a mission-oriented person and to not give up till the time that mission is achieved. To find various ways to, build that mission and not give up. Find innovative ideas, go towards different kinds of innovation, motivate your team to innovate, and do all of that. But it's still driven towards, okay, this is the mission. I need to get there.
Yeah.
So these two, three things is what I would like to share. But most importantly, reading a book one chapter by chapter, applying that chapter in the second week, teaching that chapter in the third week.
Hmm.
The minute you books this way, you will remember, the teaching will inculcate the habit. Like if you read Seven Habits of Effective People and you teach it to people, you start inculcating those habits within yourself. I would recommend more than two, three books, but first three books that I would recommend to anybody, be it an entrepreneur, non-entrepreneur, these are the three books that kind of form the basis of success. One is Awaken the Giant Within. That's by Anthony Robbins. It gives a theory of pain versus pleasure, beautifully put. And to just summarize the book in a small statement, it says, short-term pain is equal to long-term gain, and short term gain is equal to long term pain. That's the summary of the learnings in the book. So, for example, getting up in the morning, running, short term pain. Who wants to get up on a cozy morning when your air conditioner is on, you're inside a this thing? Short term pain. But if you run every day, eventually in 6 months, 8 months, you will see a long term gain. Vis-a-vis, a short term gain is going out for partying, staying awake till 4 in the morning. When you have an interview with Rishi and I'm partying at 4 in the morning, then you will see that the person is not fresh, right? So that's short term pleasure is equal to long term, impact. So that's the first book I would recommend. Second book I would recommend is a series of two books, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. This is by Robert Kiyosaki, right? This book will shape up your understanding of how money flows. So whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are in a job, whatever part of your career, if you understand how money flows, it will impact all parts of your life, be it as an entrepreneur or otherwise. So this is the second book I recommend. The third one I would recommend is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. This is like a Bible. If you want to, succeed as an entrepreneur, as a individual in life, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is your go-to book. So these three I would recommend to anybody, be it an entrepreneur or non-entrepreneur. From an entrepreneur standpoint, I would recommend a book called Multipliers. I don't remember the author's name. Multipliers is the book that actually helped me during COVID. It helped me come up with innovative solutions, drive innovation with frameworks, and build a team which is multiplying itself. Right. So Multipliers is one book that I would strongly recommend to entrepreneurs. Second book is a book by Jim Collins called Beyond Entrepreneurship. This book talks about why is it that an entrepreneur should focus on culture more than anything else, right? Like we popularly say culture eats strategy for breakfast, and it's a loosely done statement. But this book kind of goes into the depths of things, that if you have built a strategy, but in your culture people are fighting with each other, right? They are putting each other down. How is that going to help? So beyond entrepreneurship is something that I would recommend. And the third book I would recommend is a book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called The Tipping Point. This is a phenomenal book which challenges a lot of conventional theories that people bring into today's world, that, oh, you need to have a social media presence to grow online. If you are not present on social media, you can't. And, they find it very surprising when I tell them that I have never had an Instagram profile, never made it, don't have it. Even now, as we speak, I don't have an Instagram profile, right? Prolite was not there on Instagram for the first 7.5 years, 8 years of business. And we grew from a turnover of 10 lakhs to 6 crores without being anywhere online. We were a ghost online. So there is a case study we are now putting up in business schools on how to be a ghost online. It is what I popularly call as invincibly, no, sorry, I call it as invisibly invincible, right? So if you are invisible to your competitors, to the outside world, and you're just putting your head down and you're working, you're building quietly, right? And when you take business from some competitor, they don't know what to attack, right? So as much as I believe that it is important to be out there, I also believe there is great amount of strategies that can be done in building the business without being online, making it sustainable, and then going on top of the roof and shouting out.
I'm sure you do a lot of self-talk. So you say something to yourself, you say something to your team. What are those phrases?
So there are three things that I strongly, strongly believe, Rishu. One, people talk about luck, and I believe luck exists. But I always say that luck is nothing but opportunity meeting the prepared. Right? That's a slogan that I live by. So typically, if I go back to COVID, we were down and out, but we were preparing. And eventually, when Godrej Agrovet came to us, we had something to show them because we were preparing. Now, Godrej coming to us was a cold call, right? That was luck. But if we were not prepared for it, we would have not converted that opportunity. So I believe luck is nothing but opportunity meeting the prepared. So preparation is something that should continue all the time. Second phrase I live by, and I strongly believe that a leader is not a leader until he builds another leader that can build more leaders, right? And I strongly, strongly believe that you have a lot of managers, you have a lot of bosses, but leaders, um, you can handpick, right? And I say that unless you are able to build leaders who can build leaders themselves, leadership is something that I don't think really works. And the last thing I want to say, that in a world that is full of speed at this point in time, like you watch reels every 30 seconds, you want things, deliveries coming in 10 minutes, being slow, being wisely slow is a superpower, right? So I strongly believe that I'm not saying being slow means you just be relaxed about things. There is a certain pace to being slow. So in a world that's moving extremely fast, if you are wisely slow, that's a superpower. That's an amazing superpower. It gives you so much of a bird's eye view of things that people miss out in the race for just being at great speed. So these are the three top two or three phases that I would generally live by.
Yeah. So that's it, Jay. I think we've had a very interesting conversation. Thank you for your inputs. I can visualize this episode, and I really want to see and put a lot of work on it to make sure that it reaches the maximum number of people. Because you've said some things that I think only an experienced person can put it wisely and in a capsule is the way I would put it. It's not easy.
Sure.
So thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.
Super. Thank you so much. Bye bye.